Right now, Wall Street analysts are scrambling to figure out which snack stock to sell because of Ozempic, and almost all of them are asking the wrong question. This drug isn't just shrinking waistlines, it's quietly rewiring more than a dozen industries, from beer to airlines to your local dialysis clinic. But here's the thing, most of what you've heard is overblown. One famous panic was flat wrong, and the biggest casualty of all is an industry almost nobody is watching. Stick around because I'll save that one for the end. Quick word on who I am. I'm Dr. Shu. My background is in oncology, so I look at this through the science, not just the stock chart. That is the whole point of this channel. One rule before we start. This is education, not financial advice. If that's your thing, go ahead and subscribe. Okay, let's follow the ripple. Start with the scale, because that is what makes this an economic story and not just a health one. Somewhere around 8 to 10% of American adults are now on a GLP-1 drug. Morgan Stanley found they eat 20 to 30% fewer calories. One study found households on these drugs spent 11% less on salty snacks. When that many people suddenly eat less, the shockwave doesn't stop at the pharmacy. It hits the grocery store, the liquor aisle, the operating room, and a lot of places you wouldn't expect. Here's the map of who gets hit, and most people lump it all together, which is the mistake. Start with the obvious target, packaged food. Snack and soda makers like Mondelez, Hershey, and PepsiCo are clearly in the crosshairs, and Morgan Stanley thinks soda, baked goods, and salty snacks could shrink about 3% by 2035. But notice that date, 2035. Mondelez's own CEO says the real hit is closer to 0.5% of volume in a decade. So yes, it's real, but it's a slow leak, not the collapse the headlines imply. These giants are already pivoting to high protein and portion packs. The more interesting one is alcohol, because these drugs work on the brain's reward system, not just the stomach. In that same survey, 62% of users said they were drinking less. Beer is the most exposed since it's basically liquid calories, which puts names like AB InBev and Molson Coors in the path. This one is a genuine building headwind, though it's tangled up with the fact that young people were already drinking less. Now here's where being a doctor actually matters, because the market gets this stuff wrong. Back in 2023, shares of ResMed, which makes CPAP machines for sleep apnea, crashed on a simple fear. If Ozempic makes people lose weight, sleep apnea improves. So who needs a CPAP? Sounds logical. It was wrong. What actually happened is that weight loss drugs got people screened for sleep apnea in the first place, and tirzepatide was even approved to treat it. New patient starts went up. The company now calls GLP-1 a tailwind, not a threat. The market panicked. A doctor could have told you it wouldn't play out that way. Same story in a few other corners. Dialysis. People feared GLP-1s would gut companies like DaVita because the drugs do protect the kidneys, and they do. In the big FLOW trial, semaglutide cut the risk of serious kidney decline by about a quarter, but DaVita itself expects less than a 1% hit to revenue a year. Real, but slow and small. Diabetes devices were another scare. The worry was that if people need less insulin, they need fewer pumps and sensors. Instead, we got coexistence. Companies like Dexcom and Insulet are still growing double digits because patients use both. The feared victim turned out fine. So, who actually got hit hard? The clearest casualty is the old weight loss industry itself. WeightWatchers, the company that defined dieting for 50 years, basically collapsed once a drug did in a month what their program did in a year. Oprah left the board. That disruption was completely real. And then there are the strange ones. Apparel chains rethinking sizes, skincare companies launching anti-Ozempic face serums, even airlines, where one analyst estimated a major carrier could save tens of millions in fuel a year just from lighter passengers. That last one is more fun fact than thesis, but it shows you how wide the ripple goes. Which brings me to the one I promised the industry almost nobody is pricing in: addiction. Remember how I said these drugs act on the brain's reward system? It turns out that does not stop at food or alcohol. A large study found people on GLP-1s were less likely to misuse a whole range of things: alcohol, opioids, even nicotine. Researchers said the way cravings drop across so many different substances at once has basically no precedent in medicine. Think about what that means if it holds up. This isn't just a diet drug, it's a craving drug. And that puts a quiet target on tobacco, on gambling, on the entire economy built around human compulsion. The science is still early, but this, not snacks, is the real earthquake. And it's the part Wall Street is barely talking about. Now, don't just hunt for losers, there are clear winners too. Lilly and Novo, obviously, telehealth like Hims, the device makers that coexist, even ResMed, the one everyone wrote off. So here's how I'd file all of it: 4 buckets. Real and now, like WeightWatchers and beer. Real, but slow, like snacks and dialysis. Overblown, like the CPAP panic, where the market scared itself. And the wild card, addiction, which could dwarf the rest. The lesson is the one this channel keeps coming back to: don't trade the headline. Most Ozempic doom is a slow leak or a false alarm, and the biggest story is the one nobody is looking at. I'll be tracking the addiction data and I'll tell you if it breaks. So tell me in the comments, which industry do you think gets hit hardest? And if you want the science behind the money, subscribe. I'm Dr. Shu. See you in the next one.